Welcome everyone to today's tips and tricks video. Today we'll be talking about forms and how to use forms in a lead generation process. Alright, so here we are in forms, and let's go ahead and take a look at the three different types of forms and talk about each one briefly. Okay, the three types of forms are what we call intake forms, update forms, and general usage forms. The functionality is really around what you're trying to accomplish. An intake form will always be a form that you place on your website or somewhere that is not connected to your SuiteDash account, and the goal will be to get someone who is not in your account, you have no affiliation with. We'll just call them a random user. They're out there on the internet, they come across your offer, whatever that is, and they complete the form, and then the actions that you configure in the intake form are then executed for that particular user and for every user that completes that form. The idea here is you're going to intake random users into your CRM, and then they will be categorized, typed, put into circles, and all automations will run for that particular user based on the configuration of the form. Okay, now let's move to update forms. Now, update form, as it says here, is to update or add info to existing contacts. It should be noted immediately that update forms cannot be hosted outside the platform. They need to be inside the platform, or they need to be accessed by some coded link so that we know exactly who the user is. Because what we're doing with an update form is we are modifying the data associated with a particular contact, or we are adding new information to an existing contact. So we need to have the contact identified, meaning they can't be a random user. They have to be identified either by a hashed link that's in an email that is sent, or they have to be logged into the platform. That way we can identify exactly who they are and therefore update the correct contact. So a very popular workflow will be something like you put an intake form with 2 or 3 questions, maybe first name, last name, email address, and 1 or 2 other data fields. Use that to get these random contacts from your website into your CRM, and then somewhere down the line in your flow, you get them into the platform, and then you have them complete an update form, at which time we can add even more info to their profile by having them complete an update form with, say, 10 or 15 different fields now. Now they're further down in your funnel. You already have some exposure with them. They're qualified. They're placed into the right circles, etc. And now you're going to collect more information or give them the chance to update information. And we'll look at one of these flows and we'll build one together in this video. But just know that a very popular flow is use intake form to get them in and use an update form to complete the data and then draw them to the next step. Now, general usage form is the type of form. It has no real association with writing data to a profile. They don't have the capability to use trigger action automations. So you can't use this type of form to do things like change a user's circle at a certain point in your flow or trigger a project, etc. Only intake and update forms have that capability. It's just a form where when the user completes the form, the results of the form are emailed to someone. They're very simple. They're not built into the system. They're not made to add data to the system. But also general usage forms are sort of like a utility form in that we use this type of form as the base to build subtypes of forms. For example, if you create a general usage form, and let's just look at this, this is where you would create an email marketing list form. Specialty type here, you would choose add to email marketing list, and then we would load the specialty type, overwriting all the fields that were there. But of course, if you're starting from scratch, it doesn't matter. And now you have a first name, last name, email address, and down here you're going to choose the email marketing list that you need to add to, and then you're going to save this form. And then you would, after you save, you would go to embed, and that's where you can get the embed code or the link to display this form anywhere you'd like. And when the form is completed, the subscriber is added to the email marketing list of your choice here. Okay, back at the choice of the forms. And now let's get back to our discussion about setting up a lead generation flow. And hopefully by going through this process, we'll turn on a few light bulbs out there for you. Okay, here we are on the fictional Mad Max Digital Studio website. And what I want to do here is I want to add a page to the website under contact. And we'll call this free SEO evaluation. Let's just say that's going to be our lead generation strategy for SEO. If someone comes here to my website and they see that, they may be interested in getting a free evaluation. And I can build a funnel around that so that I can custom design their experience based on the interest that they've shown. So the way that I would do that is create a page on my website, and then I would embed an intake form there, and that intake form would be designed to categorize this person correctly and move them on to the next step. So let's look at that and do it together. Okay, before we start building, I have taken the time to map out the funnel that I have in mind, and this will help me create a needs list that I can then go directly into my account and create the elements that are needed. And after those are created, I can make the connections that are needed and the redirects that are needed to make sure that this funnel works as intended. All right, so let's go through this. I won't spend a ton of time here because I think as you see it being built, it will make more sense. But it is important to understand that having a plan makes things go a lot smoother and makes more sense in your head as you're building it. Okay, so how I want this to work is I want to create an intake form. I'm going to host that on my website. When a visitor to my website completes the form, they will be added to my CRM. They'll be added to a circle called SEO Funnel Step 1. We're going to set their role as prospect, okay? They're going to be added into this circle. We're going to specify that the portal access invitation is sent. They'll receive that. They'll click to set their password. And we're going to be prepared with a portal page that has an assignment as a start page to SEO Funnel Step 1 circle, this circle. So as the user sets their password, they're going to be redirected to that portal page, and that's going to be where they land, and that's going to be the first thing that they see. From there, they will see a CRM update form, which we'll create. They're going to complete that. That's going to be a very small form. And we're going to use that form to achieve a circle change. We're going to change them from SEO Funnel Step 1 circle to SEO Funnel Step 2 circle. And then on that redirect, we're going to redirect them to another portal page that is assigned to SEO Funnel Step 2 circle. And on that page, we're going to show another CRM update form whose job will be to collect more data. And then we're going to change them by the submission of that form into another circle, SEO Funnel Step 3, and then we're going to redirect them to the last portal page in this funnel, which will be this portal page where we'll thank them and they'll receive their final information about what they should expect next. So maybe that makes sense to you already, but let's go ahead and just build it step by step. We'll do it really quickly and efficiently. We won't focus on how everything looks and all the content. We'll just focus on wiring it up, making it work so that it flows just like we want. Then you can go back and start to build the content and refine. But getting the building blocks in place will be the first goal here. Okay, so with that goal in mind, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at our needs list. And this needs list is taken directly from the funnel that we sketched out. So in this funnel, we're going to need 3 circles. Okay, remember, we have circle number 1, 2, and 3 for our 3 different steps. We're going to need 3 portal pages because we need this portal page as the start page. This portal page is for step 2, and this portal page is for step 3. Okay, so we're also going to need an intake form, which is at the top of our funnel, and 2 update forms, which we'll be using on the portal pages. Those update forms will help us add more information, update information, but also they help us achieve the circle change, which is really what we're after as we move people through a funnel. We look for places to achieve this circle change, and because they're removed from one circle and added to another circle, they no longer see the experience designed for step 1, for example, but now they see the experience designed for step 2, and then when we achieve the next circle change, we move them from step 2 to step 3. All along the way, we're designing the experience, the things that they see, the next page that they see, the menu items that they see, based on their circle affiliation. Okay, so let's jump in and quickly create the items on our needs list. Okay, here we are back in the platform. We're here in the circles management area, and I'm going to quickly create the circles that we need. Notice that I'm not adding any users to the circles at this point. That'll be done later. I'm not worried about the colors. I'm only adding a name and a description, and that's all we really need at this point. Okay, we have our 3 circles, SEO Funnel Step 1, 2, and 3. Next, let's create our pages. So I'm going to quickly move there and create some new portal pages. Okay, remember here we need 3 portal pages, one of which is going to serve as the start page. So to get started, we're going to create the start page portal page for SEO funnel step 1 circle. Here I'm going to set the portal page category and a menu title and a page title. I'm going to choose not to show this in the dynamic menu. And here I'm just going to put some content so that we can identify this page when we land on it in the automation. Okay, before we create the other 2 pages, let's go ahead and go back into this page and take a look at it a little closer. Okay, so we assigned this page to SEO funnel step 1. Only people in this circle will be able to view this page. But I'm also going to set this as the start page for that circle. Here, I'm going to choose SEO funnel step 1. Notice that's the only choice, and that's because that's the only choice that has visibility. So anybody else doesn't make sense to make it their start page if they can't see the page. So we're going to choose SEO funnel step 1 here and click save. Now we're done with this. I've just made this portal page the start page for anyone assigned to this circle. Okay, let's scroll down. We don't want to have any internal assignments. Here we are configuring what's called the dynamic menu, meaning this page will show in the pages menu that we automatically build each time a client logs in, based on which pages they have permissions to see. So if you don't want to worry about creating custom menus and you just want to create a page structure that can be navigated based on this is the first level navigation items and these would be the second level navigation items, you can leave this off and this page will show up in that dynamic menu. But in this example, this page is only meant for a funnel step, so it's going to be seen once, and we don't need them to see it again because then we're going to take them to a step 2. So in this case, I'm just going to populate these with labels that I can understand and help me find this page again from our list of pages, and then I'm going to choose to not show it in the dynamic menu. And then down here is the content that we designated. So now we've reviewed why we did this part. Now we've reviewed why we set the circles, and now we've shown how to set this page as the start page for this particular circle. Okay, let's go ahead and save this page, and then we will create the other 2 pages quickly. Okay, so here we're creating a page called SEO Funnel Step 2, and we're assigning that to the circle SEO Funnel Step 2, and likewise here SEO Funnel Step 3 assigned to the circle SEO Funnel Step 3. So these are our 3 content pages that we will present in order, step 1, step 2, step 3, and we'll use the intake form and the CRM update forms that we'll make next to change the circles and move our prospects through the automation. All right, well here we are back full circle, back looking at forms. So let's create some forms. I'm going to start off with the intake form. Okay, we're going to call this one SEO Funnel Intake. We're just going to leave the default fields. We're not going to add any extra fields, and this is going to reduce the friction to a bare minimum. Maybe later you would want to add fields, but for right now, let's just keep it simple. Let's scroll down. We're going to set this role as a prospect. That means every visitor to your website will be given the role prospect when they enter your CRM. Let's scroll down a bit further. We need to choose a coordinator, so we'll just choose Max in this case. Or if there's an SEO manager in your organization or whoever will manage these prospects, that's who you would want to assign here. And then here under circles, we're going to choose SEO Funnel Step 1. And this will mean that they will land on our start page. But let's scroll on down. We're going to skip all these others except for this one. We do want to send the portal access invitation immediately. Okay. Also, we're going to send an email to the coordinator when a contact registers. So you will get an email as a coordinator, and also they will get their portal access invitation, which will help them proceed to the next step. Okay, let's just save this. All right, so we've created our 1 intake form. Now let's create our 2 CRM update forms. But first, let's go back to our workflow and take a quick look so we understand exactly what we're doing. Okay, here we are back at the workflow. We've already created the CRM intake form. We have that ready to go. We set the portal access invitation to be sent. We set the admin notification to be sent out. And we're going to redirect them to this portal page because we added them to SEO Funnel Step 1. What we're now going to create is the CRM update form that shows on this page. They'll complete that form and we'll have that form be the trigger to switch them to the next circle in the progression, which will then also control what they see when they log in, and we'll configure this form so that after it's completed, it will redirect to the next portal page in the progression. And back in the CRM update form, let's set a title as we described. Okay, this is our title, and now let's build the form. Okay, so this form is going to be a really simple form, and the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to add an HTML content block, and in this block, I'm just going to say something like, okay, great, you're ready to start your SEO journey. It will really help us to know more about you and the primary website that you're trying to rank, for example. And then we'll include one field like, what's the primary URL that you are looking to optimize in the search engines? And so really it'll just be a one question form, just one more small step, and we're actually bringing them further and further into our funnel, getting more information out of them in an easy and friction-free way. Okay, so we have the fields created for our first CRM update form, but now we want to set the actions. So let's scroll down to the form actions section, and we're going to look at the default action is to save the form data, of course. The second default action is to update the contact, but we want to add more actions on this form submission. So we'll click plus here. We're going to click trigger action automations, and then we're going to configure this. Okay, so now let's scroll down and we can say, all right, now we need to configure our actions. And what we're going to do here is we're going to change the circle. So we're going to remove from SEO funnel step 1 and add to SEO funnel step 2. Okay, simple as that. And of course you could trigger a lot of other things here, but we're going to try to keep it simple and we're just going to do this one. Let's click save. So now that action will happen when this form is submitted, and that will achieve the circle change we're looking for, which will then achieve the change in experience that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and save this. Okay, now we just need to build one more CRM update form, and we're getting close, and then we'll start wiring everything up. So let's create a CRM update form. This one is going to be called Funnel Circle Change Step 2, Step 3. I'm going to quickly create just a very small form with a few questions. Of course, you can make it bigger if you need, but this is just for simple purposes to show the form and then show the actions we're going to trigger when this form is submitted. Okay, so I've created 3 new custom fields. These will be questions that our prospect will answer when they arrive at this form, but let's scroll down now and assign the actions that will be executed when this form is submitted. So we already know save form data, yes. Update contact, yes, but let's go ahead and go back to our trigger actions automations, and we're going to set, again, very similar to what we just did before. We're going to set to remove from circle to, and we're going to add to circle here, funnel step 3. Okay, so now we moved them again. We've achieved our circle change on the submission of this form. All right, and let's scroll down and click save. All right, so we've reached the point where we have all the items on our needs list taken care of. Here I have the intake form and both update forms. Here in another tab, I'm going to show I have the 3 portal pages, and we know about the circles. We already made those. Let's go back to the forms here. Remember that the intake form will embed on our website, so we'll need embed code for that. For the 2 update forms, we're going to embed those on portal pages, and to get the embed shortcode, you just click this placeholder, and that will give you the embed shortcode. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and prepare to embed this form by opening all 3 of the portal pages here in different tabs so that we can easily edit all 3 of them and move really quickly through that step. And here we are in the portal page for step 1 and also step 2 and step 3, and I'm just changing tabs here. That's what you're seeing. Okay, let's go ahead and identify these again in our minds. Step 1, remember, is the start page. This is the first thing users will see when they enter the portal. We're going to embed a CRM update form on this page. This is the form we're going to embed on this page, SEO circle change to step 2. So going to step 2, that means we'll embed it on step 1. So I'm going to copy this shortcode placeholder. I'm going to go to this page. I'm going to add a new text block. And here, I'll just Control A, all and Control V, and there's my form. Okay, I'm going to click Save, and then I'm going to click Save. Okay, so we have this one embedded. Now let's go to step 2. Step 2, we're going to embed another form. It's going to be this form that takes us to step 3. Let's just embed that. Same process. Okay, and save, and save. Okay, so I have my forms embedded. Now I would really like to see what this is going to look like, of course, before I start running people through it from my website. But the problem is, as of right now, we have everything wired up using a circle that is actually empty. So unless we create a test client and add them to that circle, then things won't work as we want. So let's just make a quick change in our assignments here, just to allow us to preview what's going to happen. Once we're happy with it, we'll come back in here and remove these assignments. So I'm just going to quickly assign one of my test clients, Lindner Blake, and then I'm going to go down and allow this page to show in the dynamic pages menu. That way I can find it easily in his profile and we can preview what this page is going to look like. And I'll do the same for the other pages. So we'll easily be able to see them and preview them and know what they're going to look like as we move through. All right, now I am logged in an incognito browser as the test client Lindner Blake. I did that before making those last changes. So you'll see in the dynamic pages menu, the menu items that we're looking for are not here, but let me refresh now that I have chosen to show them in the dynamic pages menu. And now when we look, here they are, SEO prospect. And I see funnel step 1, 2, and 3. Okay, perfect. So let's go look at step 1. Okay, here we are in step 1. We see the step 1 that we put in there, and then we see the form is output by that shortcode. Let's look at step 2. Okay, same thing. Step 2, we put in plain text and then the form. And then we really didn't do much in step 3. Okay, and we can just add content here when we want. Now, of course, these pages are very bare bones. We're just showing you here how to set up the workflow and wire things up. And then, of course, you would add your own styling. I will make a few small styling changes just to make this look a little bit better before we start. But also an important detail is that from this view, we can get the URLs that we need to redirect to using the CRM update form. So remember, when they arrive at their start page, which is step 1, they're going to complete this form, and that's going to redirect them to step 2 and then redirect them to step 3. What we need to add to this form is the redirect URL where we want them to go when this form is completed. So we can take that from step 2. If you'll notice at the bottom of my browser, I'm hovering here, and now I can right click and copy that link for step 2. And now I'm going to go back in the admin side here in forms, and from here I'm going to open up the CRM update form here, this one that will take me to step 2. I'm going to go to link embed. And from here, I will close this. And from here, I'll scroll down. And instead of the success message, I'm going to disable the success message and place this redirect URL directly in this field. And I'm going to click Save. And then here back on the client side where I'm seeing the pages, I'm going to hover over step 3, right click, copy the link. I'm going to go back to forms on the admin side. Okay, and then I'm going to open up this form, and I'm going to go to link embed here. And from here, I'm going to scroll down, disable the success message, and paste this redirect URL. Okay, and now I have the redirects that I need on the form submits. Okay, back on the client side, and we are ready to test all the way through the funnel. So even though we're with a test client here, we can just enter some dummy information, and if everything is wired up correctly, which I think it is at this point, we should redirect through these steps properly. And once we confirm that, then we can look at a few things like styling this step 1, maybe a little nicer, changing the color of the button and the button text to say something like next step, and then we can change the page title. We can clean this up a little bit, make it a little more presentable. Still bare bones, but a little bit nicer. And then after that, I think we're ready to do a full test from the intake form on the website all the way through the funnel. But for now, let's go ahead and test the funnel and see if we go from step 1, step 2 to step 3. Okay, so what's the primary URL? Let's fill in some dummy data here. Just call this teaching.com. This button can say next step. We can customize this message. Here's the redirect. Okay, so now we're on step 2. Let's put in some information here. Okay. And let's go ahead and click the button. Again, we'll make this say next step. That's going to submit. We can customize this message. And then the redirect will happen to step 3. Okay. And we can put whatever information we want here, another form, anything we want here. You could even extend this automation further. But what I'll do now is go back through these pages and do some quick styling and changes to the content, to the button color, to the button text, and set this up so that it's a little more presentable. Then we'll get back to the video, test it one more time through this test client. Then we will be ready to set up a final test. Okay, so I've made my changes, and you can see there's a pretty dramatic change here. You should know that all these changes were accomplished using the native styling options in Portal pages. There's no code here, there's no special CSS. You can accomplish this just like you're seeing here, and at the end of the video, I'll spend a few minutes going over how that was done. But let's get to it so that we can finish and everyone can see the final test. So here, step 1, we're just going to go through this again. Change the loading animation. Okay, here we are in step 2 as it loads. We're going to say, in another loading animation, we're on step 2, and notice that the buttons always say next step. Okay, and then on step 3, I've just added some text to say, okay, great, you can go ahead and use our scheduling tool to book your appointment. And then I've used the button block here and chose the option to pop the appointment scheduling so that they can do that right here, and everything will continue from there. So this is the final step of the funnel as we designed it, but of course you could extend this in any number of ways. You can replace the content on these pages with anything that you'd like. You can add additional options like email marketing lists and event templates and project profiles and all sorts of things that can extend and expand this automation. So we've kept it simple for explanation purposes, but of course, if you think about how this was done, there are many, many, many options that can be customized to your use case, your business, your organization. Okay, so now that we've seen the final step, let's go back in and prepare everything for a live walkthrough, a live test, starting from the website. I'm back now on the admin side, and I'm going to just remove my test client that I was looking at everything with. I'm going to remove them, and I'm going to hide now again this page from the dynamic menu so the menus won't show to the prospects as they work through the funnel. Okay, and that's it. I'm going to do that for each page. Okay, now that that's done, the next step is to go to the intake form, which I have open in another tab. Okay, here's the intake form. And remember, this is the one that we're using to start everything off. We're going to assign them into this Circle SEO funnel step 1, which will kick off their journey through our funnel. And what we need to do now is just go and grab the embed code from link embed, and that's here. All we have to do is click here under embed code, and that'll copy the script to our clipboard. I've already used the available options to style the form to match my website aesthetic, and you can see the preview right here, how it's going to look when it's embedded on my website. Let's jump over to the website. Okay, here we are on the admin side of a standard WordPress website. This will work on any website. All you have to do is access the HTML code, which no matter what kind of website you're dealing with, you'll have a method to do this. In this particular example, you're seeing a visual builder being used, and I have just built a few simple blocks here. And then here in the last block is where we're going to place the code. We're going to open the block and see we have a visual tab here. But you always want to look for the text or source tab, and this puts you in the HTML, and from here I can just paste the embed code directly from my clipboard. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to click update, or however it works in your particular CMS or website builder. And then we're just going to look at this page from the front end, and you'll see how this will be accessed by your website visitors, which will then get them started in the funnel. Okay, we're here on the front end of the website. I have placed a link here, free SEO evaluation, and we've created a page where we embedded the form. This is the intake form. This content is provided from the website builder, The form is output right here, and we're ready for a full walkthrough test. Now I am operating in a completely private browser here. I'm going to show here in this tab that I'm not logged in to the platform. So it's important when you test here that you're not logged in to your account. That's the only way you'll get a correct test of a random user to your website. Okay, so not logged to your account. On your website, here's the intake form, and let's go ahead and start our test. Okay, the form is complete. That was easy. I'm just going to click Get Started. All right, and here's the success message we designed for this particular place. Now let's check the email. Okay, this is the email, and if we open this up, we can see that that was sent to the email address that we typed in our test. Okay, of course, this is a completely white labeled email notification, and all Abigail has to do is click Activate. That's going to open the interface for her to set her password. Let's do that really quickly. Okay, and I'm just going to save password and log in. Now I will expect to land directly on the start page, which is exactly what's happened. This is the first page in our funnel as we designed. So now Abigail is in the first step of our funnel. Let's go ahead. Okay, transitioning to the second. Next step. Okay, and she lands on step 3. She can now book a consultation if she'd like, or whatever you design for this step as the last step in the funnel. You now have 3 or 4 bits of key information for this prospect, and you can begin creating your relationship and working towards a close. All right, so that completes our successful test. You've seen everything work, but let's just take a quick minute to understand what we really did here. We didn't just create a simple step 1, step 2, step 3, and a few circle changes. What we did is make a proof of concept that you can now take and adapt to your own business processes. We made an intake form and 2 update forms, and at each one of these steps we showed that you can activate any one of our trigger action automations. So not only can you change circles, add, remove circles, add more circles, you can also add or remove from email marketing lists. You can also trigger project creation, invoice creation, contract creation. You can trigger event templates. You can control the menu based on circle affiliation. So while here we saw during the onboarding process, Abigail Powers saw the dashboard, calendar, billing, files, messaging, all these things, that's the default configuration, but you can easily set up the menu configuration to respect her circle affiliation and then only show the menu items that you want to show to the circle at any given time, depending on which circle or circles she's affiliated with at the moment. Additionally, we showed how you can assign a start page based on a circle affiliation. So that means that you could have someone land on a particular start page initially, but then based on actions later in the funnel, you can then have them land on a different start page next time they log in. So you can really change and mold a user's experience through a journey based on actions that are completed or any other method by which we allow circle change or access to the trigger action automations. With that last concept in mind, here's one more way we can improve the current funnel that we built. Let's go to the second funnel page, and now let's set that as the start page for the circle SEO funnel step 2. And let's go to the third funnel page, and let's assign that as the start page for SEO funnel step 3. Now, why is that an improvement? Because what if someone starts with SEO funnel step 1 circle, they land on that page, and then they close their browser, or then they log out for whatever reason, or they stop. Depending on how much information or data you're showing on that first step, maybe it's more than they have time for at the time. Maybe they complete that step, or in some way they get to the second step and then they stop. By doing what we just did, by assigning the start page on step 2 and step 3, next time they log in, they will be redirected to the current step where they are based on that circle affiliation. They'll be redirected to that start page associated with that circle. Okay, so I understand that this is quite a bit of logic. It's a little bit of a conceptual learning curve. I think we did a very good job here explaining it step by step. And if you stayed tuned the whole time, or even if you completed this video in parts, I think if you've gotten this far, you have a very good handle on how all this is working And then now you have a good handle on the building blocks to achieve not just one funnel of your own, but many different types of funnels adapted to your use cases, and therefore creating automations for you in your business that will save you valuable time and will help you make more money, which will then give you more freedom or more capital to grow your business, whatever your preference. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and roll the credits, but there will be an overtime after. If you don't want to see how the styling was achieved in the portal pages, if you don't want a few more tips, you're all done here. For the rest of you, we'll see you after the outro. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day. During the video, we made some styling changes that allowed us to achieve this look on step 1, step 2, and step 3. What we started with was just this very plain look on step 1. So let's talk about that and how we achieved that. But first, you may have noticed that the values that we entered earlier when we were testing the funnel with Lindner Blake are still in the fields. And as we moved to step 2, those values were there as well. And this is because these are the values that are in the database for this particular client. So when a client returns to a CRM update form and there's data already associated with that custom field for that client, we display the data in that form. And using that, you can make scenarios where clients log in and are able to update their own information. So maybe someone's primary URL is one thing during their onboarding, but you also want to give them the option to change that one day. Then you can embed a form on a portal page somewhere and have that available for them, or you can even make it available in their profile, and they can come and see their current value in the database, enter a new value, and save that as part of saving the form. And at that time, the new value is updated. Okay, so there's that concept. But also, you may want to just redo this from scratch and not see these values, and you may want to use the same test client. And since these are just tests, it really doesn't matter. So how do we get rid of these values quickly and easily so that we can just test again with blank forms? Let's jump over to the admin side. Okay, so here we are on the admin side, and we have our clients listed here. Some of these are test clients while we tested this process. But let's just say I want to clear the values associated with all of my test clients for some particular custom fields. I will click Bulk Edit, and then I'm going to click Update All. This means that I'm going to update every one of my contacts. And then down here, we'll find the fields that I want to clear, and these are the ones: primary URL, primary niche. These are the ones associated with our SEO funnel that we're testing. I'm going to click Empty Value for these 4, and I'm going to click Save. And I've just emptied the custom field value for every single client for those 4 fields. And I did that in just a few clicks. All right, let's go back to the client side. Okay, back on the client side, let's refresh. And let's see that this field will be empty when we refresh. Okay, now we can start over and move ourselves through the test, enter new values, and see this just as a brand new client would see it. Which is not completely necessary, but I think some of you may have had questions about that when you saw it in the video. All right, so let's get to the styling part, okay? So we have this very plain, we have a title bar here, a background. Let's go to the portal page and we'll start to do this step by step. Okay, here we are. We're on step 1, the portal page. Let's go ahead and start with the styling for this content. And the only thing I really styled here was this step 1. And I did it really easily by changing this to a heading 1. I changed it to italic, and I used a color from the letter color picker. Okay, so now I have step 1, it's in the color, it's a little bit styled. I'm going to click Save. From there, I went over to styling options for the page, and we'll start with these. So the first change was this one. We're going to completely hide the title bar and the page title. You can also choose to change colors, but in this case, I want to just completely hide that. Second change was this one. We'll enable this, and we're going to completely hide the content card, which is the white background card that's behind the main content of the page. So I hid that as well. So now we have no background cards, only the background behind our content, the primary background color, okay? And down in this setting, I want to change the color of the primary background, and we're talking about the default light gray background. So I'm going to select this. And from here, I want to change the color, yes. and I want to show a texture, okay? So the color I'm going to change to a very light gray, and I want to show a texture. And in this case, I'm choosing the floating cogs. I'm going to go with a color. I'm going to fill this in. Okay. And then here on the texture, I'm going to put 0.04. And that's going to make it almost transparent, very subtle as a background texture or pattern. Okay. And from here, I'm just going to click Save. All right, let's go back to the client side and see what we have. Okay, that was all that was needed to get back to this styling. It's very simple, it's point and click, you don't need to know CSS, and so you can achieve some very nice results with the styling options that are currently available and more coming soon. Okay, thanks to everyone for hanging around for this overtime. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll see you around in the next one. Thank you.